We're ready to start the conditional use hearing.
If you'd like to come up and introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Cheryl Gutierrez, and I am planner's house.
Sorry,
You can mic now.
Hi, my name is Cheryl Gutierrez, and I would love to have a hair salon down here in Carnegie over on Broadway. I've been doing hair for, I don't know, 34 years, so I have a nice following. And I just love this community. I love what's happening here, so.
And this is going to be on Pine Street? Actually on
Well, it's
Brown.
actually on Broadway.
Broadway. And what are the hours you're going to be open?
Right now, I'm going to work with Wednesday through Saturday, and eventually, I would like to be Tuesday through Saturday.
How many customers do you think you'll be having at the time? Well, first off, will it just be you as the hairstylist, or will there be other people?
No, I have one other girl there, young lady, and possibly another one just part-time, maybe 2 days a week.
And so, at a given time, how many customers do you think you would at best have?
The most would be 3 at a time, because it's a small space.
And,
I have 3 chairs there, so.
And the biggest question always comes up with conditional use here is parking. At Brown Alley by Pine, I think that's lot 10. Is that lot 10? That's lot 10 that's there, and I presume that your customers would be able to use that.
Yeah, they would be able to use that, yes.
Okay. What about your employees? What would they be for?
Actually, my tailor, she walks to work. She does not have a car. She lives in Carnegie, and I take her home.
And this is just probably, I'm thinking back to a situation we had with the dry cleaners. The chemicals they use in a beauty shop, there would be a problem. There's nothing.
No, there isn't. It's not like a nail salon. A nail salon, you have really bad, chemical
There's
smells.
bad chemicals.
Yeah, very bad, but not with the hair salon.
And that's all the questions I can think of. If anybody else has any questions out there?
Do you have an off-street parking spot for your shop?
Just right there in front of, where the space is.
So you'll be parking in the lot all day?
Yes,
Interesting.
yes.
Have you asked the owner for a spot?
I did not.
Because he does have a private lot.
Oh, okay, I can.
Because if you're parking all day, you'll have to feed the meter all day. If you're at least until the hours that come done, until we're done.
Okay.
That can get pretty expensive all day.
Yeah, I will definitely ask them.
Just one thing to add, this was a beauty salon probably about 5 or 6 years ago. It's changed a few different hands and been different businesses, so it was all the utilities and everything was already there as far as getting set up. So.
Yeah, the plumbing was over there.
And being that it was already set up as a beauty salon, there's always possibly the argument that it's already been approved. It's just they're gracious enough not to take that road and come and ask for a separate petition. So, like I said when I started, the biggest problem is parking. It doesn't seem to me that there would be a big drain on parking spaces there. It's only going to be.
Yeah, I don't see that being a problem because, like I said, it's a small space. There's only 3 chairs, so 3 people in there at one time, and then they'll be leaving, and then 3 people in, so.
Any other questions? Does anybody in the audience have any questions? That would be it. That would be it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Now, put it on your turn here. consider the record closed and adjourn the hearing.
Adjourn the hearing.
Yes, that's the
I adjourn the hearing.
Okay, now we start.
All right. Okay. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Could we have a moment of silence, please?
During our moment of silence, can we remember this past weekend a Charlottesville incident where there was a loss of a civilian life, and also 2 state troopers' lives were lost? If we can reflect and remember them in our moment of silence.
Let's rise for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge of
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
roll call.
You guys can leave. Yeah, I know you were probably asking that.
Good evening.
Thank you. Councilperson Hopchek?
Here.
Councilperson Boyd?
Here.
Councilperson Radin?
Here.
Councilperson Sarsfield?
Here.
Councilperson DeLoss?
Here.
President Demko?
Here.
Mayor Kavinsky? Here. We have one.
Okay, are there any public comments on the listed motions? Okay, Councilperson Boyd, administration.
Thank you, Council President. Motion to approve the minutes from the council meeting on Monday, June 12th and July 10th, 2017.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Motion to advertise the 2018 budget meetings for September 25th, October 16th, October 30th, November 27th, and if needed, December 7th, 2017.
Second.
Motion has been made and we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes.
You recovered quickly.
Finance, Council.
I'm not done yet. I have additional motions this evening.
Oh, that's right, I'm sorry, I apologize. Get it.
Motion to appoint Margaret Sembrat and Christine Zofson to the Zoning Hearing Board with terms expiring on July 31st, 2018.
Second.
Okay, wait a second.
Motion
I thought we could go on
motion
each
to-
other.
Solicitor says you have to do them separately.
Yeah, because they're 2 different appointments. They're not being appointed together.
Okay. Stephen.
Do it one more time.
Strike that.
Good thing you get 3 strikes at this. Motion to appoint Margaret Sembrat to the Zoning Hearing Board with a term to expire on July 31st, 2018.
Second.
Motion has been made and we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Motion to appoint Christine Zofson to the Zoning Hearing Board with a term to expire on July 31st, 2018.
Second.
Motion has been made and we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Motion to appoint Matt Crawford to the Planning Commission with a term to expire on July 31st, 2018.
Second.
Motion has been made and we have a second. All in favor? Motion passes.
Motion to appoint Marcus Spike to the Civil Service Commission with a term to expire on July 31st, 2018.
Second.
Motion has been made and we have a second. All in favor? Motion passes.
Motion to appoint David Trischel to the Civil Service Commission with a term to expire on July 31st, 2018.
Second.
Motion has been made and we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
That's all I have this evening, Council President.
Finance, Councilperson Cullicher.
Thank you, Madam President. First motion is to approve the July 2017 bill list and bill list addendum.
Second?
Motion has been made, and we have a second. Steve, roll call.
Councilperson Boyd?
Yes.
Councilperson Sarsfield?
Yes.
Councilperson DeLoss?
Yes.
Councilperson Riley?
Yes.
Councilperson Papachek?
Yes.
Council President Demko?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Second motion B, motion to exonerate lot and block 102-B-287 Logan Street, Carnegie Borough Building from the 2017 Borough property tax payment.
Second?
Motion has been made, and we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Motion C, motion to approve the purchase lease of a 2017 Ford F-250 4x4 from Walton Wynn Ford at a price of $31,370, including a 5-year, $100,000 premium care warranty.
Second?
Motion has been made, and we have a second. Comments?
Yes, just a comment as far as any of the vehicles that we purchased through the municipality, it's done through the CoStars program, which relieves us of any bidding responsibilities. And this is was budgeted for the Department of Public Works for 2017.
That's all I have, Madam President.
Public Works Council. Oh, I'm sorry. Roll call vote, Steve.
Thank you. Councilperson Sarsfield?
Yes.
Councilperson Boyd?
Yes.
Councilperson DeLoss?
Yes.
Councilperson Riley?
Yes.
Councilperson Papachek?
Yes.
Council President Demko?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Public Works motions, motion to approve payment application number 6, final, to T.A. Robinson Asphalt Paving Incorporated in the amount of $15,896.30 for work complete between June 30th and August 7th, 2017 for the Carnegie Park Phase 2 Main Park Improvements Contract number 2016-04.
Second.
Motion has been made, and we have a second. Roll call, Steve.
Councilperson Papachek?
Yes.
Councilperson Riley?
Yes.
Councilperson Boyd?
Yes.
Councilperson DeLoss?
Yes.
Councilperson Sarsfield?
Yes.
Council President Demko?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Public Safety, Councilman Sarsfield.
Thank you, Madam President. I have a motion A, a motion to adopt ordinance 2443, an ordinance of the Borough of Carnegie, County of Allegheny, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, amending Chapter 15, Section 205 of the Borough Code of Ordinances pertaining to motor vehicles and traffic, Beechwood Avenue and Library Avenue to our park.
Second.
Motion has been made, and we have a second. All in favor?
Any comments?
No comments.
Yes, Madam President, can I say a few words? This 2-hour parking on Library and Beechwood is a solution to an issue that we haven't been able to solve with a number of people parking up there and just staying there for days. But what I will say is that this is a Band-Aid, as we all have discussed earlier. Eventually, I think the borough is going to have to look into and address a permanent solution to a number of parking issues in the borough. I don't think it's relegated to any one street. We have a number of streets where parking is a serious problem, and I probably need to put together a separate committee to look at, designing and implementing a permit parking system throughout the borough. I mean, it's not something that can be done overnight, but I think there are going to be I think there are streets in this community that are going to need a permit parking system eventually. It's just we've just reached our limit, and too many people are taking advantage of the parking in their neighborhoods and making it difficult for residents to park in their own neighborhood. So just a food for thought. Thank you.
The second comment, Madam President?
Pardon?
Second comment?
Sure.
This also, Maggie, changes parking from the current side of the street on Beechwood,
Yes.
where folks have been parking for years, to the other side of the street. So parking will now be facing Carnegie. It allows for, give or take, 6 additional cars to be parked on the other side of the street.
And a quick getaway.
Pardon me now?
And a quick getaway.
And a quick getaway after an event at the library, etc. I think it'll also, once the park project is completed, will
Yes.
allow you to see the park in its future grandeur a little bit better. But the primary reason for changing the parking is pick up a 4, 5, 6, whatever it works out to be,
And
additional
passengers
parking
exit on the
places.
sidewalk.
Exactly,
Yeah.
we left that out.
Oh, the safety perspective as
Right.
well,
I
yeah.
mean, drivers always get out on the street, but passengers usually get out on the sidewalk. When, may I just ask, when does this take place?
As soon as we pass it,
Well,
then we need to change the signs.
I mean, is that like in the next month or so?
It'll be implemented.
Immediate.
No, it's not immediate. It'll be implemented responsibly. It's going to have to be, there's going to have an education process, and it'll be implemented responsibly, and including letting people know that if you park against the flow of traffic on the other side of Beechwood, because a lot of people come to the library that way, but if they park against the flow of traffic, they will be ticketed. They have to park with the flow of traffic. So there's going to be an educational piece that's going to need to be rolled out with it. It's
Right.
not something you can just flip a switch.
I agree, but I
We'll have to post some signs up there. No
we like
parking
to
this side of the
communicate
street.
too, let people know, but I think this is
But it
great
is
for
in
our
effect,
neighbors.
as of the vote, it's in effect immediately, but there's still
It'll take time, a little bit of time.
take a little bit of time.
Anything we can do to help get the word out.
Yes.
Thank you, Madam President.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Code enforcement, Councilperson Riley.
Motion 5A, to approve the application of Mr. Nicholas Contis for the Contis Vine Street Lot Consolidation Plan of Lot and Blocks 103-D-42, 103-D-44, 103-D-48, 103-D-50, and 103-D-51, as recommended by the Planning Commission on July 25th, 2017.
Second.
Motion has been made and we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
5B, motion to approve the conditional use application of Ms. Cheryl DeChitas for the beauty salon located at 210 Pine Street, Lot and Blocks 103-M-292, as recommended by the Planning Commission on July 25th, 2017.
Second.
Motion has been made and we have a second. Any comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
5C, motion to adopt resolution number 2017-07, a resolution of the Borough of Carnegie approving that the acquisition and subsequent disposition of a parcel of vacant property known as block and lot numbers 66-J-47, 316 Academy Street would be in accord with the comprehensive plan of the municipality.
Second.
Motion has been made and we have a second. Any comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
5D, motion to adopt resolution number 2017-08, a resolution of the Borough of Carnegie approving that the acquisition and subsequent disposition of a parcel of vacant property known as block and lot numbers 102-A-164, 521 Cubbage Street would be in accord with the comprehensive plan of the municipality.
Second.
Motion has been made and we have a second. Any comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
5E, Motion to advertise ordinance number 2444, an ordinance of the Borough of Carnegie, County of Allegheny, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, amending Chapter 5 of the Carnegie Borough Code of Ordinances pertaining to vacant properties.
Second.
Motion has been made. We have a second. Any comments?
I have a comment, Madam President. This change was recommended by our consultant that we work with, Town Center, and it should make our vacant property ordinance much easier to enforce and be more effective. So we believe that it's more of a streamlined ordinance that will be easier to enforce and be more effective. Thank you, Madam President.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Okay. Committee reports, administration. Any report?
Nothing this evening, Madam President.
Finance,
Nothing this evening, Madam President.
code enforcement,
Nothing this evening, Madam President.
public works.
Yes, Madam President, I have two items. On Darlington Road, there are 5 houses in Carnegie whose sewers, sanitary sewers, run into Collier Township. And apparently they've done that since they were built. And we've just recently learned about that, and we're negotiating with Collier on how to resolve that because they would like compensated for these 5 homes' sewage running into their system. So we are discussing ways to run their sanitary sewers into the Carnegie system, which of course would entail some expense. We're leaving them run into Collier and paying them for that. So that is under negotiation right now, and we hope to have a resolution to that pretty soon. The other item is regarding an incident regarding a shade tree, which one would think would not be such a controversy, but maybe in a small town, little things become big things. So about 3 weeks ago, Public Works was up on Mansfield Avenue, which is in Roslyn Heights, not the boulevard, but up on the hill, at the corner of Reamer and Mansfield. And they were removing a tree, a very large tree that had been cut down, and putting it into a Borough dump truck. And some residents saw that and assumed that they were doing work for a private property owner. That private property owner happened to be our Councilman Boyd, who has the property next to that space. And they complained about it. So Council President Demko assigned me to do a report on that, since I'm responsible for Public Works, and report back to her. So I did that, and I reported to her last week. And the story is actually quite long, and you probably don't want to hear it, honestly. It's tedious. But the result is that back in April, Councilman Boyd identified with a consultant, a landscape architect, 6 trees that needed to be cut down on his property, and a dead ash tree that needed to be cut down on Borough property. There was some discussion about who was responsible for the tree on the Borough property. It was sent to the Shade Tree Commission in April for them to decide, and they didn't come up with a clear ruling. They said that they needed to see a survey of the property and some language on easements. So that issue kind of sat idle for a couple of months, and then in July, Councilman Boyd's contractor, who was cutting down his trees, prompted the issue back to the forefront, and Superintendent Hatcher called a contractor that we use at the Borough for tree removal, got a quote. And as you might expect, because Councilman Boyd had a tree service already on his property, they offered to do it cheaper than what the contractor was going to do for the Borough. So the superintendent and Mr. Boyd agreed, and the tree service cut down all of the trees that were in question. Public Works then proceeded to remove the rather large carcass of the tree. It was a huge ash tree that was predominantly dead. And that's when the problem ensued. So this ended up being quite a discussion about the wording in our ordinance about who is responsible for trees. And it's actually a rather big deal, because if you think about all the properties in town where there is a tree between your property and the street, who is financially responsible for that tree? We could be talking about some big money. And the language in the ordinance doesn't make a distinction between whether it's in a residential neighborhood or on Main Street. So if you had a building on Main Street, there was a nice tree in front of it, who's responsible for that tree? The borough or you, the property owner? So the Shade Tree Commission understood that this was a serious matter. It involved a lot of money, not just one person and one tree. So they spent a lot of time deliberating on this matter. And I reported back to Council President Demko last Monday that the matter was inconclusive at this point and needed to go back to the Shade Tree Commission for a final ruling. Well, it turned out their monthly meeting was just 2 days later, which was Wednesday. And they did meet and they deliberated. And I received today a memorandum from the Shade Tree Commission with their ruling on this particular matter. And it's lengthy. I won't read the whole thing. But I will tell you that there are a couple sections of the ordinance which were open to interpretation. Paragraph 25-104, which is titled Cost of Caring for Certain Trees to be Paid by the Borough, they ruled that that paragraph applied only to trees that were planted by the Shade Tree Commission itself. So that, the wording leads you there. The wording does, in fact, lead you there. In fact, I'll read you the sentence. The cost and expenses for carrying trees now planted and hereafter planted by said commission on the public streets and highways of the borough shall be paid for by the borough. So, the Shade Tree Commission is only 5 or 6 years old. That means all the trees that are older than that they had nothing to do with, don't fall under that paragraph. Paragraph 25-102, however, has quite lengthy information. And that paragraph is titled, The Cost of Planting or Removal of Trees to be Paid by the Property Owner. And it gives quite a bit of detail, but the bottom line is that it says, such work shall be paid by the property owner of the real estate abutting which the work is done. The amount each owner is to pay shall be ascertained and certified by the commission to council and to the borough secretary. So if the borough did the work, the property owner is going to get an invoice for that. And if the property owner did the work, they have to get a permit. There's language in here for that. Get permission to cut the tree down or even to trim it or prune it. And then they pay for it directly themselves. Further, it says when the tree is cut down, the property owner has to replace it with a new tree. Another expense. So the bottom line when we get to the end of it, I'll read you their recommendation directly. Based upon the above interpretations and conclusions by the Shade Tree Commission regarding the Code of Ordinances, the Commission recommends that Mr. Boyd assume the cost of the tree removal and the cost of the replacement tree. Since Carnegie Public Works has historically removed tree branches, etc. for private residents of Carnegie when they have been set out by the street, and due to the hazardous condition of the dead tree, which poses a public safety issue as well as the necessity to minimize the spreading of the ash borer disease, the Commission believes that the cost of the cleanup of the dead tree is the responsibility of the borough. So, according to this decision by the Shade Tree Commission, Councilman Boyd is to pay for the cutting down of the tree. The borough is to be responsible for the hauling away of the tree, and Mr. Boyd is responsible for replacing the tree with a new one. I expect that the Shade Tree Commission will be coming back to council and requesting some clarification of the language, because there's a lot of people in town that will be affected by this, and it's a big deal. I mean, I own a building on Main Street myself. It doesn't have a tree in front of it, but the building next to me's got two of them, and so I get the benefit of the shade trees on the street, but I don't have any of the cost associated with it. And I would also say that it looks like maybe this language has been meant to be in place for a long time, but I don't believe, Steve, that we've ever invoiced somebody for cutting a tree down. Have we? Maybe not in recent memory.
There was a case on Library Avenue, but the judge, again, he cut it down at his expense, removed it at his expense.
Okay. So that's my report on this, Madam President. That should close this particular issue as to who's financially responsible for this. And I've had a number of conversations with the folks involved in this from the Shade Tree Commission and also our superintendent. And he has assured me that the Public Works employees never go and do work on a private property. However, if a person has cut down a tree or they had a tree come down in a storm, if they cut it into manageable pieces and drag it to the street, Public Works will come and pick it up for them, and they've been doing that for a very long time. That, of course, in addition to leaf collection in the fall, but they do not pick up yard refuse. So I think this is fairly consistent with what we've been doing, but I think further clarification will be expected. Thank you.
Thank you.
And just to clarify also, the latter part of the month, our solicitor, Ms. Rock from the Shade Tree Commission and myself will be having an informational session and going over the ordinance and trying to bring it and make it better and more clear. That's all I have.
Thank you. Public safety?
The only thing I have is just a reminder to everybody that school going back, so be cautious of our children out there waiting for buses, crossing streets and stuff. You know, we all run late here or there, but you know, think about our young people and be cautious and do the speed limit. And, you know, watch for flashing lights in the school zones.
And I have nothing to report this evening. Andrew?
Nothing this evening. Thank you.
Fire department, EMS?
Yes, for the month of July for fire calls, there were 17 fire calls. Ambulance calls, there were 22 in the month of June and 24 in the month of July.
Thank you, Madam President. The July numbers for the Carnegie Police Department, criminal arrests and citations were 20, traffic citations were 73, parking tickets 107, and complaints and self-initiated activity by our department numbered 740. I would like to remind everybody that we do have a soliciting ordinance. People are supposed, before they solicit in the borough, they are, unless they're a nonprofit, but they're supposed to come down to the borough and register with the borough, and then also receive a badge so that they can go around the borough and solicit. I noted, I'm bringing this to everyone's attention is because the last couple months I've noticed 3 individuals who actually came to my door and had not followed that procedure. So when you notice that that procedure is not being followed, dial 911, call the police, we'll check out the soliciting party, and remind them that we have a procedure in place. And included in that procedure is that the chief does a background check on the individuals also. This coming Wednesday, we belong to Connect, and this coming Wednesday we have a transit-oriented development meeting with with Connect. Connect has received a $100,000 grant. Connect is the Congress of Neighboring Communities that was started by the University of Pittsburgh. That is a organization that tries to use the strength of the urban core in designing policies and also buying power when it comes to utilities and some other issues. And the urban core being those communities that are contiguous or close to being contiguous to the city of Pittsburgh. And this coming Wednesday, they received a grant for $100,000 to provide support services to communities who are interested in transit-oriented development. There's 7 communities that are listed. We are one of the 7 communities that are on there to receive support services. Allegheny County Port Authority has also contributed another $100,000. So we'll be designing an RFP to find someone who will come and assist communities with their zoning and TOD plan. So that's very interesting. For us, it's very appropriate right now. We do have a huge development down the road in 2020, in which the Port Authority will be spending almost $16 million to expand our park and ride. And that's, so that's in 2020, and they're supposed to break ground for that. The Boys and Girls Club has had a great summer this year. They were averaging at summer camp 158 children, which is just amazing. And I was down there a few days, and just to witness the procedure and how well they handle 158 kids a day is nothing less than a symphony. So they do a fantastic job with the kid. They keep them occupied. They provide a number of different educational activities. They also provide employment opportunities for teenagers. They hired 12 kids who grew up and utilized the Boys and Girls Club, local kids, and they hire them as teen counselors. And so it's a benefit for a lot of different individuals in our community. We had our teen nights this year. Our teen nights were, in my opinion, were extremely successful. I want to thank the Borough of Carnegie for their support for this program. We had anywhere from 50 to 60 kids a night on teen night, and a lot of those kids were ages 16, 17, and 18, and they were kids that were running basketball games from the time they started to the time they were done. Not to mention we brought in a local artist to teach kids how to draw caricatures, which was a nice program, and then all the amenities for the club were available to the kids. So in my opinion, it was an extremely successful program, and we're hoping to even expand it next year a little further. But I think the response that we received from the children that were participating in the program, this program has been long overdue and very welcome in our community. Also at the Boys and Girls Club, there's flag football signups on August 22nd. And the flag football is a big deal here at the Boys and Girls Club. They draw a number of kids from all over the local area, 3 or 4 communities. But the majority of the kids are from Carnegie. And flag football is a sport that has been growing ever since they started it. And then I want to remind everybody that they have their big fundraiser this Friday night. It's the comedy night at the Marriott. You can still get tickets. It's $75 a ticket. That includes a nice meal, 3 comedians, and it's all the money they raise stays at the local Boys and Girls Club, and it's used to provide scholarships for kids in the summer. And we do our best not to turn away any kid who can't afford summer camp or any of the programming. So if you're not doing anything, or if you just want to donate, please feel free to do that. You can contact me. You can contact the Boys and Girls Club at 276-3151. As Councilman Sarsfield mentioned, so it is back to school. Monday is the first day of school for Carleton kids. Tonight, the chief and I were able to, we were a little late today, but we were able to go up to Carnegie Elementary for kindergarten orientation. And believe it or not, that is the class of 2013. 2030. The class of 2030 had kindergarten orientation tonight, and it was really nice. It's just a neat evening to see all those little kindergartners come in for their orientation. But and then I want to thank the Salvation Army. The Salvation Army had their annual backpack giveaway, and at the Salvation Army Chartiers Center, which you can see right out the window there, the red building. And they had over 160 kids participate in their backpack giveaway on Saturday. They gave free haircuts, provided food and games, and then every kid got a backpack filled with school supplies. So it was just a wonderful event, and I thank Mike at the new head of the Salvation Army for how well it was run. I mean, it was for 160 people coming in and out of there. It was as smooth as silk. Got a compliment. There was apparently a small fire or incident at the governor's house, and I received a phone call that this individual wanted to express their gratitude for the quick response time of not only the police but the Carnegie Fire Department, and how professional both organizations were, and including the Scott Township EMS. They thought it was the professionalism that was exhibited that night was extraordinary. So please pass the compliment on to the fire department and to the EMS too. Then we have this weekend. There's the not this weekend. In 2 weeks, there's the white tent sale in the Borough in the business district. That's the 25th and the 26th. The businesses will be putting out white tents and have a lot of things on for sale during the white tent sale. Pittsburgh New Works starts in the first weekend of September. It's a great theater. It's great theater. It's one-act plays, that original one-act plays that are just very, very well done. Holy Trinity Ukrainian Catholic Church has their festival on the 19th and the 20th. And then save the date for Open Streets, which is September 23rd, and that's from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. So we're looking forward to another Open Streets this year. And then lastly, one of the things that I'm somewhat excited about, and I know you're going to say, how can you get excited over just a bat? But an individual has a bat that was owned by Hannes Wagner. This bat was 112 years old. Hannes Wagner, everybody knows, is a famous Carnegie shortstop, the greatest shortstop ever played a game. And I will stick to that. And, he was the first individual on September 1st, 112 years ago, on September 1st, he was the first individual to sign a contract with an organization to have his name on a bat. Now it's commonplace. And this individual, this collector, with all the research that he's done, believes that he has that original bat. That original bat was supposed to be going to the Roberto Clemente Museum in the summer. He had called me and asked me if I wanted to visit the museum. When he did that, I was able to talk him into bringing it to our Hannes Wagner Museum, and that'll be coming. That bat will be here on September 1st and 2nd at the 112th anniversary of the original signing of the contract. So we're excited to have that in our little Hannes Wagner Museum at the Historical Society. So if you're not doing anything September 1st or 2nd, stop by and see the original Hannes Wagner bat, probably the first bat that ever was under contract with a sports celebrity. And that's all I have, Madam President.
Do we have any public comment?
Good evening, everyone. I just have a general question. Look, not big enough. Is Borough aware that we have a food truck? Like, I love my neighborhood. I frequent where I eat. I eat in Carnegie. Thought, does anybody know why we're having a food truck right by Papa J's, a Mexican food truck? Because I can tell you some of the owners aren't happy.
Yes, then we've discussed that. I'll step out on this because we've discussed that, And originally it was the food truck was supposed to be here every once in a while and obtain a permit for the food truck. That has not happened. I have actually brought this to the attention of council a number of times. We need to get our act together on what we're doing with the permits for the food truck, which we are working on. I will say this is that one of the things that was originally agreed upon when these first started was that the food truck would come and not compete with any of the restaurants, and it was okay. But I know that some of the brick and mortar restaurants who are getting a little upset, especially the brick and mortar. Some of the brick and mortar they pay they have high taxes, and they hire people from our community. They contribute to our businesses. So this is something that we have to handle very delicately. I don't think we want to exclude food trucks from the community. They're a very popular entity. I think if they're used in the proper way and not on a continuous basis, that a food truck can be a nice complement to what we have. But we definitely have to be more aggressive and consistent when it comes to handling these situations.
Maybe the food truck can come on Monday. That's a joke.
No,
It's actually not a bad idea.
I was thinking to myself, it's not a bad idea. But
I'm sorry.
But it is a concern, and it's been a concern of mine for a little while, because I've had a few complaints from the brick and mortar restaurants, and I have brought it to the body, and they are working on it.
I would concur with the mayor on that. Thursday, I was sitting on the bench in front of Riley's, and that truck obscured the whole front of the other side of the street. And they had electric power generators sitting out back of the truck. So the people that are sitting in Papa J's by the garage door are literally looking at a truck instead of the beauty of the street. And they're listening to these generators going, and I thought, why? I would be upset too. I would be very upset, and I have a reason to be.
I mean, I'm not the union rep, I'm just a citizen in Carnegie, it's aggravating, because I frequent them, and just, my next question was going to be, do they have a permit?
They're supposed to. That whole thing turned out not the way it was supposed to turn out, but hopefully we're getting our act together, and we'll do a better job with that.
Stacy, anything up for the town hall meeting on drugs?
I spoke with State Representative Anita Kulik. We were thinking possibly something maybe in the fall, late September. I do need to follow back up with her though, and once I talk to her, we will get it all coordinated. She's done something like that with State Rep DC before, so like instead of reinventing the wheel, I think we could just go with the format that they had and see if we wanted to tweak it, specific to Carnegie.
Well, and Senator Fontana is involved in all those too. So they put them on in Crafton, they put them on in Beachview, at the Beachview one, and in McKees Rocks. It is a very nice program. It's a well done program. It's a very well done program.
Well, we've had less overdoses at Gecko.
Well, Gecko's a whole nother issue that I have my eye on. But that's a whole other issue.
I don't know.
The chief is sick of hearing me about Gecko, but that's coming to a head. And that's all I will say on that subject.
About the president again.
That's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you, Tess.
I just didn't expect you to say something. So I'll be very brief. I'm actually very pleased about this ordinance because I think it will improve the library music hall's relationship with our neighbors, and I'm also very pleased about shifting the parking, and hopefully that. I hadn't really thought about it, but I think it's a very good thing to do in terms of safety and extra spaces, so thank you. As per our conversation at the workshop meeting, will I get a letter, an official letter or something from the borough about the monument? Okay, no rush, but just that I would make that official. And as you know, construction is going on and on and on. It's on pace. It's very impressive. And okay, in 6 weeks this will be done. I hope that's the case. Just more and more exciting developments around Library Park. And then just, if any of you have not been to our Listen Locally downstairs, we have one tomorrow evening. Those are lots of fun. It's a happy hour sort of thing. Sorry? Wednesday. Oh, tomorrow's, oh, yes, whatever. I don't know what day it is. Wednesday evening, the third Wednesday of the month. But this is, I was thinking you, Rick, because it's Rick Loss, the RML jazz band. And some of you heard him play, it was like the art show, it was the last day of the art show, it was when we had the Rhythm and Blue Band. They're really very good, they're Collier based, it's a terrific band. So come on down, we haven't done that at 6:30 to about 8, sort of thing. And I just wanted to echo what I gather our new business owner was saying. I was down fleetingly for the crawl because I had something I had to do back at home, but also I was here on Saturday. And it's just, this town is a pleasure. It's just, I was out and about at 4 o'clock on Saturday afternoon, which I don't often get to do, and just stopping at the shops. I'm pretty green. And, but it was just encountering people and the delight that they take in Carnegie, coming, they don't know it. It was a beautiful day, but it's just a nice, relaxed, people's excitement about the town was palpable. That's it. Anybody else?
Okay, Councilwood and Welfare. Mike, you have anything more tonight?
No, again, just remembering what happened this past weekend in Charlottesville. Keep all those people in your thoughts and prayers. I thought that the governor spoke well to a point that that type of behavior, those type of people aren't welcome there. And I echo his words that they're not welcome anywhere. America has a long history, unfortunately, of situations like this, but I think that our younger people and children to come, that our future is brighter than ever, that we all have a place here. No matter what your religion, no matter what your race, we all have something that we can do. We all have something to offer, and we're all welcome here in America. And, proud to say that I come from a community that has much diversity, the people that live here, and people that operate restaurants and businesses. And, we have a great chief of police. His officers do well dealing with all our residents. So I think that if you want to look at a community that does well in accepting one and all, I think you can't go further than right here. And that's all I have.
A couple of things. One, I want to commend the mayor on his work with the teenagers at Carnegie. I think all of us understand what happens when you have a community of teenagers who don't have anything to do. And so kudos to the mayor for his efforts there, because that's a big deal. It's a big deal. And not just babysitting, but giving them constructive things to do, and it helps them become better adults. I'd like to echo Mike's comments about Charlottesville. Very, very disturbing event this weekend. It's really a lot to imagine that in the year 2017, we would say that a woman was murdered fighting against Nazis in the United States of America. Just an unimaginable situation. And of course, it brings to mind the fact that a week from Friday, the 25th of August, is our 94th anniversary of the great Klan rally in Carnegie, which also turned violent. Probably not a coincidence that Klan rallies have a tendency to turn violent. And that rally was based on an anti-immigrant mentality, that immigrants are bad, In Carnegie, that was referring to mostly Catholics, Irish, Italian, Polish, Ukrainian. And we know from history that the town was not destroyed by those immigrants. In fact, it was made stronger. And that should be a lesson for us going forward, that when we see people that look different than us, they dress differently than us, that they're not a threat to us. They may change the complexion of the town, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, that in 50 years it might be different than it is today. And we just need to not be afraid of that. So we echo the words of Franklin Roosevelt, that the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. And you try to find something positive out of an event like that. This past weekend, the city of Charlottesville, a year and a half ago, made a decision to come to grips with their racist past and put it out in the open and deal with it. That's what made them a target of the Klan. And if a town in Virginia can say, we're ready to talk about this, we're ready to do something about this, I think it's a message of hope for me that the future is going in the right direction for our country despite these kind of events, and that maybe this is the last gasp of dying movement. I'll keep my fingers crossed and hope for the best. Thank you, Madam.
Nothing this evening, Madam President.
I have a couple things. In case you haven't read, there's an eclipse on Monday. Everybody knows about the eclipse, that I won't bore you with the details, but don't look at the sun. That's all I can tell you. You wind up in the emergency room, because it will hurt your eyes.
My glasses won't work for that, Phil.
Your glasses will not work for that, no sir.
And there's some controversy with the glasses that are being handed out.
I heard about that as well.
Not protected. We actually researched the ones we did, and we believe, but we have to do one less thing, that they're fine, but it's on the news to check, this sort of thing, because libraries are one of the places that we're handing out
Yes, they
glasses.
are.
And we only have 5 pairs left. Before we just raised in the last couple of days that
There could be some lower quality sunglasses
so
out there.
Don't look at the sun.
Yeah.
I think it's going to go south of us anyway, to a large extent. But
We'll be 82% exposed here, so.
Okay, you know
it's-
more than I do, Phil. Okay.
Yeah. About that one tiny little topic.
You're our astrologist.
There you go.
Astronomer.
The other thing I wanted to mention is the Allegheny County Side Yard Program is up and running again. So if any of you happen to be homeowners who live adjacent to a vacant lot, it's possible that you may be able to adopt that lot and make it part of your property through the county program at a very, very reasonable cost. There's a cost associated with it. It takes a good 6 months to make it all happen, but we've got a number of those that occurred on our agenda this evening that folks will be making their yards that much wider than they used to be, or deeper, as it were. So you can dig into that with the county or contact any of us, and we'll help you figure out where to go to learn more about it if it's something you're interested in. And the last one is, I'd like to thank Rick for doing a rather lengthy job of digging into the shade tree issue, and I'd also like to thank the Shade Tree Commission for making a comprehensive decision and doing so in a really timely manner. Albeit the initial request came in April and the decision didn't occur until somewhat later, I still think it was good. And Mikey, next time they meet, would you please ask them if they mind if I plant 2 trees? Because that's actually what's in my landscape plan.
3 would be great. We'll accept it.
Yeah. That's all I have this evening.
And I just have one quick thing, just so you know, we're going to be starting work on the haunted trail in September. So we're doing it 3 weekends this year with just 7 to 10. It'll be the last 3 weekends in October. So anybody that wants to come up and help build, I'd be more than happy to see you.
Bill, what?
We built Bull Trail.
Haunted trail.
Haunted Trail, Bull Trail's on the main building. That's all I have.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion has been made. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.